What's up guys, I'm Andy from 1A Auto. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front sway bar links on this 2010 Toyota Rav4. If you need this part or other parts for your vehicle, click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. All right, I raised and supported the vehicle. I'm going to remove the wheel. I'm using a 21mm socket and an air gun. If you don't have an air gun, you can use a breaker bar. Just crack the lug nuts free while the vehicle is still on the ground. All right. Now I want to take the tire off. This one's stuck on there pretty good, so I'm going to put one lug nut on and just hit it on the back side of the tire with a hammer. Break it free. Reason you leave the lug nut so the tire doesn't go flying. Now take the lug nut off and pull the tire off. I'm just going to take a little rust penetrant, spray this sway bar link nut. It's a little bit rusty, so let that soak for a little bit. So there's a couple ways you can take this nut off. One, you could take a 7/32 hex key, or a 5.5 is pretty close as well. And then a 17mm wrench and try to loosen it up that way, but I find it takes forever if you do that. So what I'm gonna do is take some locking pliers, get behind here on the back side. This is gonna prevent the stud from spinning. Just lock those in place. Take a 17mm socket and an air gun and just take it off. Generally, if you just bump it a couple times like that, it'll loosen up, but I gotta readjust the locking pliers, make them a little tighter. Let's give this a try. There we go, got it off. All right, and I can slide this out, and then you can see how this was on here. Now, if you weren't replacing the sway bar link, then you probably don't want to do it this way. You probably want to do it with taking the wrench and the hex key. It just takes a lot longer. Take the locking pliers off. I'm just gonna use a little rust penetrant on this nut. Let that soak a little bit. Before I take this nut off, I don't want the stud to spin while I'm taking that off, so I'm gonna use some locking pliers right here. Should be able to lock the stud. Or we could do similar to what I said up top. You could use a hex socket in the center there and then use a 17mm wrench. It just takes a lot longer. 17mm socket and an air gun. And there we go, nice and easy. Here's the old part. Here's the new sway bar link from 1aauto.com. As you can see, the length of the parts are the same. They're machined the same way. The ball and socket ends are the same. They come with new nuts. Get yours at 1aauto.com and you'll be ready to rock and roll. Just take the sway bar link, slide the stud through the sway bar, and then put the nut on. Now, as far as tightening it down, I don't have the ability to use locking pliers right here because I don't want to mess the boot up. So what I'm going to do is just use a ratchet wrench and a hex key. This nut is a different size, so I'm going to use an 18mm ratchet wrench, and the center for the stud to hold that, I'm going to use a hex bit with 6mm hex socket. Just tighten this up. All right, I got that snugged. Now I'm going to use an 18mm socket and a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque this to 55 foot-pounds. Just make sure the stud isn't spinning. Do that. That's good. Now align the link up into the bracket on the strip. Put the nut on. I'm gonna snug that up real tight. Then I'm going to use an 18mm socket and a torque wrench and torque this to 55 foot-pounds. Now install the tire. Take the lug nuts, install the lug nuts. Now I load the vehicle down to the ground so that the tire's just touching the ground. And I'm going to torque these with a 21mm socket and a torque wrench to 76 foot-pounds. And I'm going to do this in a star pattern. The reason you do it in a star pattern is so that the wheel gets tightened down evenly. And then I always like to go around again just to double check. And you're good to go.
Thanks for watching. If you want the parts to do it yourself, check out oneaauto.com, the place for DIY auto repair.